Good morning, respected professors and scholars and students. As we are into the short fiction here, it is very important to understand the context of the literary and pedagogical context in which we teach and learn short story as an important genre in literature. And also it is very important to deal with discuss the context of short story emerging as a major mode of representation within the literary and narrative domain. So till recent times in the academia and in the higher institutions of learning, we were focusing on the epic tradition, poetry, theatre, classical drama, novel. Novel had its kind of hegemony over other literary discourses. Earlier in the origin of English studies, if you trace the history of English studies, novel was considered as secondary in the beginning. In the 19th century and all, as we know the history of English language teaching in India, it was introduced in the colonies like India first, and then only it was accepted in the higher academia within Britain, in the Oxford tradition. They were teaching and they were fixed on the classical texts. They were teaching Greek and Latin to their own students, while they introduced English here in the colonies, in the Asian African countries. So then, in the 19th century, the novel was considered something secondary and inferior. The English studies itself was inferior. It was called the Pink Sunsets. Terry Wilton and others who have written about the history of English studies. Or Gauri Vishwanathan, for example. In the Masks of Conquest, she identifies the novel and English studies and the literary canon involving the novel as a product of the colonial imperial culture and its hegemony. Edward Said himself has enlightened us the cultural connection between the novel and colonialism, culture and imperialism. And also in Orientalism, he begins that critique of the colonial cultural project in which the novel was central. Azim Firdaus, for example, the colonial rise of the novel, in which Azim Firdaus traces the cultural hegemonic linkages between English studies and colonies. So it was considered as something given to the girls. Novel was something which was associated with women, popular reading public. When the middle classes and women came into literary reading, the novel became an important thing. That is what Raymond Williams and all, the cultural studies exponents, they have analyzed. So, in the beginning, novel was secondary, but in 20th century, it became dominant. Once the colonial culture of Britain has taken over, the novel has become hegemonic in the academia. And short story, of course. We get that we don't have that tradition of short story in India, not in the Bali canon, not in the Sanskritic tradition, not in any vernacular things, but we have the Gatha tradition, the tales, that was in the words. So that is the poetic or words tradition of India. Several traditions, vernacular traditions were there, including Pali and Sanskrit greater canons. But we don't have that tradition. We imbibe it through colonialism. Of course, the novel came from the West, and also short story. The French masters and all, we know about literary realism, the Russian masters, the French masters, the English short story, all these are part of the colonial heritage and legacy. And our own vernacular languages have picked up and they have developed. In Tamil, you have a great legacy of short stories now. In Malayalam, in Kannada, in Bengali, in Marathi and Hindi, we have plenty of short story writers and canonical authors So the short story is being canonized. In the 20th century, you find short fiction gaining momentum in the third world or in the post-colonial world like India. And it has flourished, it has come of age. And that is why we have now national seminars, international conferences on short fiction, short story. But most of these conferences are focusing on the so-called national language or the international language in India. So the Sahitya Academy, they conduct Hindu Sahitya Academy, for example, they work and conduct short story workshops on the Hindi tradition, or sometimes they do it on Marathi tradition. But adequate democratic space is not given to the vernacular short fiction. So that is what I am into. When you say that it is in English, the things in English translations are also included. That is understood. That is suggested by this term. In English means not just written originally in English, but the vernacular short fiction that has been translated into English. In English translation is also included. So that is why today I would like to talk about the vernacular, the regional, the territory realization. We talk about the territory, the region is very much there in the conceptualization framework of the seminar. So I am talking about the regional and the territorial and the vernacular, the minor, the marginalia and the territorial and the regional. So as a person from Kerala, I am more inclined to speak about my own mother tongue and short fiction authors who come from Malayalam. So I have identified one person, one short story writer in Kerala who has revolutionized it in the contemporary text, who has revolutionized both the medium of short story, the genre itself, and also its political and formal aspects. And he is called Ayyappan. Ayyappan of Kerala. He is known. A couple of years ago he passed away. He represents the metro range of contemporary Malayalam short fiction. And he is a dalit writer. That is another significance of Ayyappan. You may be knowing about Bashir or Pattathullah or Kovilan, M.T. Vasudevan Nair, Kagadi and so on and so forth. But this person, Ayyappan from Kerala, is a dalit writer, and he single-handedly revolutionized the world of short fiction in Kerala. So that is the power of this short story. So earlier this power, the socio-cultural transformative power was associated with the novel, and now we have a short fiction author coming and revolutionizing the whole literary discourse. He has changed the literary discourse single-handedly to a couple of anthologies. He has published only 3 anthologies. He could publish only 3 anthologies of short fiction in his lifetime. He was a teacher, he was a Malayalam professor of Malayalam in government colleges in Kerala. He was born in the mid district of Ernakulam near Perumbavu, and he became a professor of Malayalam towards his later career in the government colleges, and he published only 3 books. That is another specialty, distinguishing of nowadays even younger short story writers in Kerala and South India, they got plenty of anthologies. They got it translated into English as well. But this man, Ayyappan, Chodi Ayyappan, that is his father's name, Chodi Ayyappan, and Chodi and Kurumba was his parents. Chodi his father, Kurumba was his mother. He was from Perumbavu in the Ernakulam district, a mid-district in Kerala, from the part of Kochi and Travancore, merging area. The territory was a hybrid area, and he published only 3 books. The first was in 1986, published by NBS, which is called the Dead Reefs, Dead Reefs, And the next one was in 2003, which is published by DC Books, which is called The Karaj, Gandhigram. No anthology is being completely translated, only a few short stories are being translated into English now. And the third anthology, which was published in 2018, is called Ayyappan, short stories of Ayyappan, published combined by Penguin and Manoram. So these are the three books, only 50 to 60 stories, maximum 50 to 60 stories. So very, very short stories. Some of them are micro or mini stories. But he has made that paradigm shift. He has made the Dalit discourse very much part of the mainstream literary discourse in Kerala. If you write a new history of short fiction in Kerala now, Ayyappan can't be ignored. He's he's at the heart of the discourse of short fiction now in Kerala. That is his contribution. And he was born, as I told you, in just after independence in 1949. And of course, fortunately, he got educated and he became a teacher, Malayalam professor. He retired as a professor of Malayalam from the government college at Malappuram. And he is never what you call an activist kind of a writer. That is another distinction of this short story writer. He was a very minor voice. To begin with, he was very silent. He is always silent, but very friendly man. But he never went to activism. He was never into Dalit politics or Dalit public activism. But he was always silent and reading and writing and trying to publish his things, and that's all. Only towards the end, some of the interested younger generation, they recovered the voice of only it is being recovered in the postmodern context, in the post-structural and postmodern context. New scholars like the Dilip Raj, myself read about his short stories. I have published articles in English on Ayyappan short stories. Dilip Raj, another young scholar, he had done interviews with him, and he was behind the Penguin Malayalam production of Ayyappan. So anyway, he has transformed the space. That is what we have to see. How short fiction can counter and resist dominant hegemonic narratives in our society and in literature. That is very important for us as students of literature and culture, I think. So, these are the three important short stories. And Dalit literature in Kerala, it has a long history, but almost erased and silenced or suppressed history. It is mostly erased. There was several series of protests and writing or voicing from the part of the Dalits in Kerala from early Middle Ages onwards. As in the case of South India, in Tamilagam, as we know, Tamilagam was the place of cultural geography. The linguistic geography was Tamil, of course. Till the Middle Ages, Old Tamil, Tamil was spoken in all these regions, including Andhra, Kerala, Karnataka, and Tamil Nadu. So we were part of the Chera country. We know about the Muvetas, the Cholas, the Pandyas. You are the Pandyas, if you can be referred as the Pandyas of our age. We were the Cheras. So it was part of the Chera country. And Brahmanism, or the Hindu dominant religion in India, it got established in Kerala only in the 8th century. Only post 8th century, the Hindu Brahmanism has got its absolute power and hegemony in Kerala, or in the Chera country. Not to say Kerala. Kerala, of course, the state formation happened in mid-20th century under Patel and all, we know. So this kind of a resistance was there from the basic communities of people soon after the Sangam period, from the 8th century onwards. A cultural resistance was there. If you look at Sangam literature, your own tradition or our own tradition, common tradition that is shared by all the Chera, Chola, Pandya lands and the people of South India in general, you find these people, the Parayas, the Palas, the Kuravas, and women like Kavayyar or Nachinar, or plenty of Dalit women, the so-called Dalit women of post-8th century. They were the poets, they were the Vachanakaras, they were the Vagayakaras, they were the poets and singers of Chankam age. You find, we know about, even in later, early Middle Ages, you find the Tirukural, which is written by Valluvar again, it is a title of the Pulayas. Even today we have the Valluvar Pulayas in Kerala, in Vanchi, in Kodungalur. Manimekala was happening in Kanchi and Vanchi. You know, there is a Vanchi Kanda. Vanchi is in Kerala, Kodungalur is in Vanchi. So, this kind of common legacies, which were all Buddhist and Jain, Chilappadigaram was written by a Kerala prince, a Chera prince. You know, you never know about that. Can anybody give the name of the author of Chilappadigaram? Ilango Adigal, a Jain saint of Kerala. Ilango means the younger king, the younger brother of Seran Sengundavan. Seran who ruled over the Sera land from Vanchi. So the younger brother of Sekher, he was a monk. He was a renouncer and a monk and a writer. So he wrote, Ilango Adigal, the younger brother of Sekher, he wrote this monumental work in any world literature, which is called Chilappadigaram, which exemplifies the Jain spirit, Jain philosophy and religious spirit. So he was a Sera person like me. He was a Kerala younger brother of Sekher himself, Sengutuvan himself. So he wrote in the Pali at Madilagam, Kalkana Madilagam, or Tirupunavai Kottam, now lying north of Kodungal. So it composed this Jain epic Chilappadigaram, which is a monumental work which can stand with any other text in the world, like the Egyptian or Sumerian or Chinese, any civilization. That was written by a Seran prince called Ilango Adigal, the little prince, the younger brother of Seran. And in which you find this Vanchi Kanda, Kodungalur is Vanchi, Kanchi is the Manimekala's journey from Pandya land to the Chera land that is described in another epic, which is the other epic. Chilappadigaram is one written by Ilango Adigal. Then you have Manimekale, which is a Buddhist epic, which is a Buddhist epic written by Sikhalai Chatana. In Kerala we call it Chatanar. But it is in Tamil, you generally pronounce it as Satana, I think. So he was a so-called Dalit, Satana. And of course, Tiruvalluvar I mentioned, Nachina, Avliya. So all these points belong to the basic communities of the Chankam age. Chankam age means starting from the time of Buddha, BC 6th or 5th century, to AD 5th or 7th century. That is the time frame of the Sankha period, or in Tamil it is called the Chankam age, the Chankam literature. There were 3 Sankhas, 3 ancient schools of literature of poetry in Tamilagam, ancient Tamilagam, which is called the Chankam poetry. So this is a common legacy of all South Indians. And the creators of this legacy of Manimekala and Chilappadigaram, it was done by women, Dalit women and men. That is the importance of the Chankam legacy. But after the early Middle Ages, from 8th century onwards, you will find the infiltration of Brahmanism into the heart of the Movendar country, that is Tamil Nadu. So India resisted Brahmanism for so long. Brahmanism was established in North India, especially in the Gandhigram region in BC 1500 itself. The devastation of the Indus Valley civilization that marks the invasion of the Vedic and Brahmanical and Sanskritic forces, the Vedic forces in North India. That happened somewhere around, the archaeological evidences from the Indus Valley suggest that it happened in BC, somewhere around BC 1000. So anyway, the period of BC 1500 to the time of the Buddha, that is BC 6th century, Gautama the Buddha was born in Villavastu, it is there, near the Indo-Nepal border, Nepal Terai. It happened in BC 6th century. So until then, it is called the Vedic age in North India. So Brahmanism was well established in North India during the time of the Buddha, and the Buddha was the major philosopher to question Brahmanism. That is its historic value. We talk about the Buddha today. There have been a 15-day workshop on Pali and Buddhism in our Sanskrit University in Kaladi. I am supposed to be a delegate there, but I took 2 days leave and came here because this is on short fiction and I can speak on Ayyappan. That's why So anyway, from the importance of the Buddha is that he questioned Brahmanism and its theory of social stratification. That theory is called the Varnashrama Dharma or the Chaturvarnya theory, dividing the people according to various varnas. Originally they claimed that it is according to the guna and karma of people, but guna and karma are not fixed, as Nadu in Kerala has explained. They are not fixed, so the varna is also not fixed. So anyway, Brahmanism preaches. Brahmanism means the Brahman-centered ideology and cultural hegemonic discourse is called Brahmanism. Vedic Vasapi himself, born as a Brahman, he has made this definition. The Brahman-centered ideology and cultural hegemonic discourse is called Brahmanism. So, in Vedic Brahmanism, you have the Chaturvarnya or the Varnashrama Dharma discourse that differentiates people, that makes a hierarchy. It is not just a social distinction of differentiation, but it is a hierarchy. It's a top to bottom thing. It's a ladder. As you go up, you gain absolute power and hegemony. As you go down, you find servitude and slavery and dehumanized, subaltern status. So, it is hierarchical. It is not an egalitarian religious worldview. It is not an egalitarian social structure. It is an extremely inhuman and hierarchical and exploitative dogmatic use of the scripture. The Vedas were used, the Hindu scripture, the Vedas were used to legitimize this inhuman, unequal system called the Chaturvarnya, which is enshrined in the Purusha Sukta of the Rig Veda. That is the importance of the Vedic tradition and its connection with what you call Chaturvarnya or Varnashrama Dharma Hindu Brahmanism. It is enshrined in the scripture itself that the Brahmins were born from the mouth of the Brahma or the Atman of the Virat Purusha, as is elaborated in the Purusha Sutta. Purusha means the divine absolute power, which is imagined as a male. You have the God or Atman or the Brahma as a male. And from the mouth, the priestly classes emerging. The Brahman came from the mouth. Therefore, they are absolute, what you call monarchs, the Bhudevas. Bhudevas means the kings on earth. They represent the Atman or the Brahma power. And the Kshatriya, the warrior classes, the ruling classes came through the hands of the Brahma Purusha, they are Kshatriya. Then the traders, the Vaishyas came through the thighs, they are further below. So you have a standing man and the hierarchy from mouth, from the hands, from the thighs, and the Shudra, the last Varna, the fourth Varna. All the other Varnas are called Trivarnika, the top twice born, Gopal Guru, Professor Gopal Guru of JNU, a leading exponent in political science and theory today. He called them the TTV, the top twice born, Trivarnikas. Traditionally they are called the Trivarnikas. The Brahmana, Kshatriya and Vaishya. They got the initiation ceremony, the Upanayana, and they are called the Bhudevas, the twice born, the metaphysics of the twice born. That is, first from the womb of the mother, in order to get what you call purified, further purified, to get rid of the curse for being in the genitalia of a woman, you have the second birth. That is called the ritualistic second birth, the Upanayana. So that is why they are called the Dvija, the twice born, the metaphysics of twice born. Plenty of scholars, Gopal Guru himself came on with Kancha Ailaiya. Plenty of scholars have critically deconstructed the theory of the twice born in the Brahmanical metaphysics. So this kind of theory, and Shudras are the last ones because they came through the feet. They were born from the feet of the Virat Purusha. They are the fourth Varna. They must be the subservient slaves of the other Trivarnikas, other three Varnas. They are denied initiation, they are denied a right to education, they are denied human rights. And there is no mention of women. We find a lot of women here. Ladies and girl students are here. There is no mention of women, and the Bahujans, Dalit Bahujans are also not mentioned in the creation story of the Veda. In Purusha Sutta, there is no mention of women and the Avarna, those who are outside this fourfold Varna system. They are the worst majority of people. They are called Dalit Bahujans or Avarna or Jati Bahyas. Brahmanism calls them Antyajas or Chandals. There is no mention of the Chandala. I am a Chandala, for example. I am an Avarna. And there is no mention of Avarna and women in the creation story of the Veda in Purusha Sutta. So, once Mahatma Phule was asked, Jyotiba Phule or Jyotirao Phule of Maharashtra, the pioneer of social revolution in India, Savitri Bai Phule, his wife, was the first modern teacher of India. He taught his own wife and made her the teacher, the first teacher in India in a modern school where English and other European languages and global languages were taught. So this Phule, though he was a very great and what you call socially powerful Shudra in Maharashtra, he was denied education. He got education through the Scottish missionary school, and he has also acknowledged that. He taught his own wife and made her the first modern teacher in India. Savitri Bai Phule is supposed to be the first. He also inaugurated the first school for girls, the Shudra. He called the outcast. He also included the fourth Varna Shudra and also the Avarna. He called them Ati Shudra, means further below the Shudra. So Mahatma Phule, once he was asked, what is this creation story? What is the riddle of this Brahma Purusha giving birth to all these people, the fourfold Varnas in the Rigveda, in the Purusha Sutta, he said. And he said, then the Brahma Purusha should be having a genitalia within the mouth. Then only he can give birth to the Brahman from the mouth. Purusha Sutta argues that Brahmans were born from the mouth of the head, the mouth of the Virat Purusha. That is why they are supreme, and the priestly classes, aristocracy. Brahmanism is nothing but a aristocratic religious discourse. Didi Goswami defines it as a Brahman-centered discourse, and with the Brahman, they are the traditional Vedic Hindu priests. So it is a priestocratic discourse, and Mahatma Phule's answer was that then Virat Purusha must be having, he made fun of this Purusha Sutta Vedic story, and he may be having a genitalia in the mouth itself. and only he can reproduce through the mouth. And once Nadu Guru, Narayana Guru of Kerala, again younger contemporary of Mahatma Phule, he was asked, "What is the story, Guru?" Then he said, "Is it like a tree sprouting into leaves? People are getting born from various body organs of the Virat Purusha." He again condemned it. He ironically condemned that story by saying that is it like a tree sprouting into leaves. From here and there, you can have leaves on a tree. The jackfruit and all comes from the various parts of the stalk of the plant. So is it like a tree sprouting? That is how Nadu Guru condemned and made fun of that story. And also he said, the disciples asked him, "Guru, there is no mention of the Avarna." We are Avarna, he was a Chandala. In the Brahmanic imagination, Nadu Guru was a Chandala, he was an untouchable. So there is no mention of the Avarna Guru in this Vedic story. Then he said, if there is no mention, it means that they were the Swayambhus, they were the Devas and Swayambhus. He said, Swayambhukalaya Devangalana. That is why they are not mentioned. You have the Swayambhu Ganesh here. Quite nearby, you have the Swayambhu Ganesh here. Swayambhu means existing before Brahmanism. And Brahmanism came and made these lingas and the Vaishnava things. These things were existing. That is why it is marked as Swayambhu, Jain and Buddhist things. They were here. So the Swayambhu Ganesh is there, and it is very close to the Dhaulagiri sculpture of Ashoka. Ashoka had represented the enlightened one as a huge elephant coming out of the womb of the rock at Dhaulagiri near the Kalinga walk site in Bhubaneswar. So if you look at that tradition of representation, symbolic representation in Theravada, you can find the Buddhist ancestry of the Ganesh, the Swayambhu Ganesh is definitely close to the Dhaulagiri elephant. So plenty of archaeological evidences are here and there in Charlagam, which are being undercovered, just erased and modified and Hinduized. That's all. They are all is there. In Bhutamangalam, the statue of Buddha was in the belt of Kaveri, that scholar of the Punjab University, who is called Jambulingam, I think, Dr. Jambulingam, he has recovered 65 idols of the Buddha from the Kaveri belt itself, the region from Tiruchirappalli to Sidambaram. Sidambaram was a Chittambaram, the shrine of the Chittas, the Tamil Vadrayani Chittas. They were again modified into Shaivaism. So this kind of appropriation, abrogation, assimilation, hegemonic kind of embrace, Dhritarashtra, Alingana, hegemonic embrace, you will find in the discourses, the hegemonic violent discourses of Shaivism and Vaishnavism, two props as Hayden White talking about the props of narration, the tropics of discourse. He talks about the tropics of discourse and narration. So these were two props. The Swayambhu prop is there, then modification props are there. These are the props through which the hegemonic narratives of Shaivism and Vaishnavism to disguised forms of popular Brahmanical Hindu religion appropriated and modified these things. This Swayambhu Ganesh is an ideal example. You go to Dhaulagiri, you will get that connection, how the Ashoka imagined it. And even if you go to the South Asian countries, you find plenty of this Ganesh-like elephant figures. Buddha is represented as the Gajottama, the exquisite elephant, the Ganapati, the leader, the Pati of the Gana, means the leader of the democratic Sanghas, ethical Sanghas are called Ganas. So Ganapati, so that was a Buddhist thing that is being appropriated into a Shaiva thing by making the Ganesh as a child of the Shiva. So these are narrative things. So Brahmanism got its hegemony through narratives, meta-narratives. through the Sanskritic texts, to the Bhagavatas, the Ramayanas, the Mahabharatas, the Smritis, the Shrutis, the Manusmriti and all, through these meta-narratives, hegemonic discourses written and codified in Elitic language, Sanskrit, you find this narrative tropes, how to appropriate the pre-existing things as Swayambhu, or as modified apparent forms, or as in disguise. So this you find everywhere. So anyway, I was talking about the Changam age, and the creators of the Changam literature, they were the Parayas and Panas and Kuravus and the Chantos, Villavars and Chantos and all these classes, the Vendalas, all these were the classes, the basic communities who were existing here. They were the creators, and there is no mention of the caste or Varna in Changam literature. That is another thing that students of literature and history and culture, we need to mark that the word Jati and Varna are from Sanskrit. It is not there in the Tamil Desha. It is not there in the Dravidian languages. It is a borrowed or enforced from the Sanskritic tradition. That shows that there is no Jati, no Varna. It was enforced. So a linguistic archaeology that is also required. Linguistic kind of looking into language, though these things are now codified, though the archaeological evidences and inscriptions and the viharas of Pallis were demolished, it is there in language. That is why in South India, south of Odisha, you find plenty of places with the suffix Palli and Cheri. You have Tiruchirappalli, you have Karthikapalli, Karunagapalli, Gopalli, plenty of Pallis. Or Nayapalli is in Bhubaneswar in Odisha, which was a heartland of Buddhism. Till 14th century, Vajrayana survived. Karthikapalli is in Kerala, Tiruchirappalli is in Tamil Nadu. So plenty of places with Palli. And Cheri again is a Pali word. These are two Pali words. Pali was used by the Buddha to spread the word of gospel throughout the world. In everywhere, in Burma they write it in the Burmese script, the language is Pali. In Sri Lanka they write it in Sinhalese script, but the literature is Pali. In Thailand they write it in the Thai script, but they got Pali canon. Everywhere throughout South Asia it is there, and even in Tamil Nadu, Kerala and Tamil Nadu and the Coromandel coast, Telangana, find plenty of places, Pali and Cheri in their Pondicherry, Pondicherry and Patna, plenty of Patna, Bumbuha, and specific Patna places. All these came from Pali. The root forms are from Pali, and that shows Buddhism was here for at least 1,500 years. The missionaries of Ashoka, they came. Ashoka lived in the 3rd century BC, 150 years after the Buddha. He was behind the spread of Buddhism throughout the world. He sent missionaries to various parts. His own daughter Sanghamika went with the Bodhi tree to Anuradhapura in Ceylon and proselytized that country, civilized that country. His brother or son Mahinda, he went to South India. He came to Madurai. He established a vihara in Madurai and also in Nagapattinam. They had the Chudamani vihara built by the Sri Vijaya king of Indonesia here in Nagapattinam. Patna from the Pali. So South India, if you go to the Madras Museum, you may say certain bronzes and stone items of the Buddha recovered from the Tanjavur region, and also in the Tanjavur Palace Museum you have plenty of Buddhas. And everywhere in Tiruchirappalli Government Museum you have that tradition. So it was Buddhism and Jainism that equipped the earliest missionary religions in the world. They became missionary religions during the time of Ashoka and Chandragupta, the great kings or the emperors of India. So it was Ashoka who sent the missionaries to South India and Ceylon and Thailand and Burma and Laos and Cambodia and Indonesia and even to Italy and Tanganyika in Russia. They got the shrine of the Shakyamuni, the Shakyasimha, Shakyadina is the Buddha, other name for the Buddha. They got the Vihara of Shakyamuni, Shakyasimha in Kalmyka in Russia. In Siberia, Mongolia, and China, you know about Bodhidharma, Surya playing Bodhidharma and all. So Bodhidharma went from your country, the Chola country, this could be a borderline of Chola and Pandya kingdoms. So he was a Pandava prince from Kanchipur. There is also an argument that he was a Chera from Somanji. There is a different minor argument. Anyway, the now established argument is that Bodhidharma was a Pandava prince, and last year only in the Asian Studies, Institute of Asian Studies in Chennai, we had a conference, international conference on Bodhidharma. Plenty of people from Korea and Japan and China, the Mahayanis, Northern Buddhists, they came and presented on. They worked on Bodhidharma. They displayed how Bodhidharma taught them ethics and civilization. So Bodhidharma was a Tamilian. That is the established fact now. The dominant view is that Bodhidharma was a Tamilian, a Pallava prince. He went from Kanchi to China and established that pagoda at the Shaolin temple. He created that Shaolin school of Chan, of Dhyana. Dhyana is in China, it's called Chan. In Korea and Japan, it became Zen Buddhism. He is the inaugurator of the Chan and the Zen tradition in the whole of Asia. He was a Tamilian. So, Sitale Sakana, who wrote, when he made the Buddhist epic, was a Tamilian. Ilampuria, the Saradakshantam boy who wrote about the Buddha. Nagadatta, Nagadutta, Ashokosha, Sagosha, plenty. You can listen to Bala Ramasamy from Chennai. She came to our university and gave a lecture on the Tamil scholars, the Tamil and Sanskrit scholars who propagated Buddhism all around the world. 6, 7 sages, they were all Tamilians from the Chola and Pandya country. Some of them are from the Chera region, like Telugu, Adigal, was a Chera. So this kind of a greater legacy we have in South India, and it was all made through the Shramanic tradition, not through the Brahmanic tradition, the Shramanic one, the Chamana or Amana, the Buddhist and Jain tradition. They taught us letters and ethics. It is not Brahmanism. Brahmanism was holy letters. The Amanas or the Chamana monks, Jains and Buddhists, they were teaching. The nuns were we have a few nuns. So this tradition also dates back to Buddha. That is the greatest visionary attempt by Buddha. He made women missionaries. Even dalit women were included into the Sangha, and they were made equal to the men, the monks, and they were in charge of the gospel. That is the greatest vision of the Buddha. He used the language of the people, like Christ, preaching in the local language. The Buddha preached in the language of the people, that is by the Prakrit languages. Wherever he went, he used the Pali and Prakrit languages, the language of the people. And he included women, even Dalit women. We might have read, we are teaching Chandalika by Tagore's play Chandalika. We are teaching Ashram Chandala Pichuli, that will tell you the story of the Dalit woman becoming a nun, a head nun, who can even converse with Ananda, the first disciple, the major disciple of Buddha, and the Buddha himself. Buddha himself talks to this nun, the Chandala Pichuli. So even Dalit women, the barbers, the outcasts, even the Dasyus, the slaves were included into the Sangha by the Buddha. And that was his visionary, most prudent, futuristic kind of tradition. So, the South Indian tradition is that this ethical tradition, this at the base of the Tamil culture, you find this Manimekale, Chilapadigaram, and your Tiruppugal. The Jain and Buddhist wisdom is there in the Tiruppugal. Because he talks, Tiruvallur talks about the Aram, which is nothing but Dhamma or the ethics. Plenty of scholars have done their doctoral work on Tiruvallur. You know the Chamana Ramana legacy behind the making of the Tiruvallur stone. So this was the legacy. And after the 8th century, you find Brahmanism infiltrating into South India. They becoming the Purohitas with the Rajas and the queens and the kings. And gradually they got them converted. And you have convertees like Ayyappan and subversive, creating a furious, violent discourse of Shaivism in the Tamil country. They are taking over the shrines, various shrines, and converting them into Hindu or Shaivite and Vaishnavite things. So you have that bloody pogrom and genocide and violence that created the Shaivite legacy and the Vaishnavite legacy, which is nothing but the Hindu Brahmanical ploys or tropes of appropriation. Through Bhakti, through the Shaiva and through the spirit of Bhakti, historian in Kerala like Langulam Punyamalla, he has made this remarkable statement that if you consume the alcohol of Bhakti, you don't know what you are doing. As Christ would say, they don't know what they are doing. Christ said on the cross, when he had entered the cross, he said, why this much violence? They don't know what they are doing. So if you consume that liquor, the aroma of Bhakti, you will do anything. You can even annihilate the other. That is what they did, the Shaivites. Those Jain and Buddhist sages, 8,000 of them were crucified, or they were ascended on that Shula Shai thing. It is like crucifixion itself. On the banks of the river Vaigi in Madurai, right there. It is. All the historians, all the Avarna, subaltern historians, they have recorded the fact that in the 8th, 9th century period, 8,000 such Amana sages were persecuted, brutally murdered using the cross-like thing, the Shula Shai. We have a strong record of that in Kerala, in 3 places in Kerala, in Trikuditana, in Ashamanur, and in Wayanad region. We have 3 temples currently converted into Hindu temples after the Middle Ages. You have the Shula Shai idol, stone idols are there. How the Amanas were persecuted on the Shula Shai. The execution stone is called the execution stone, exactly like the crucifixion. So that is the archaeological evidences are there for this religious persecution. That is there. So through bloody violence, this Vedic Chaturvardhyam got established in Tamil Nadu. Unfortunately, we don't study history. We are not critical. We are not deterritorialized. We are not deconstructing the mainstream discourses. We are not reconstructing and probing behind the dominant so-called truth that is imposed on us. So if you don't remain critical, if you lose your critical consciousness and the sense of extreme, then fascism will be at your doorstep. That is the calamity that we are in today. Hindutva fascism has engulfed the country. They have mobilized the ignorant masses, the people, through Hinduization programs, through centuries of Hinduization programs and decades of what you call the violent campaigns like the Mandir Masjid debate, the deconstruction of the Babari Masjid, and the programs that happened in Gujarat in 2002, and again in Khandapur, in Odisha, in Mumbai riot violence. Everywhere, in all the what you call the partition violence in India, the minorities were at the receiving end. In some cases, mostly it is the Muslims. They are the number one mlecha, which is a word used against the Buddhists and Jains by Brahmins. Mlecha was originally used against the Buddhists. They got completely annihilated by the Middle Ages, by the 15th, 16th century. They got rid of all the Buddhist monks. They were all changed away from it. In texts like Kerala Uppatti and Kerala Mahatmyam, the Brahmins, they boast about the killing and butchery of the Buddhists. How to kill them, how to burn the Tripitaka, how to burn the scriptures of the Jains and Buddhists, and how to cut their tongues. That is the punishment in Manusmriti. Even Shudra, listens to the scripture or the letters of the alphabet, boiling metal, boiling lead must be poured into his ears. Shudra Akshara Samyuktam Dure Parivartyate. If a Shudra learns letters, he must be chased away as a dog, as a rabid dog. There were rabid squads to do this. Manusmriti, Dandamiti of Manusmriti. So, the Kalmamati and Kalmamahatmya, the dramatic treatise composed in late 16th and 17th century, boast about his execution, religious persecution, how they were persecuted. So, this kind of violence was there, and that is through these centuries of symbolic and material violence, they got rid of the Buddhists. They were the original Brahmins. Now that word is used against the Muslims and also the Christians and other minorities. And we know about the 1984 anti-Sikh pogrom that happened against the Sikhs in Delhi. Delhi itself, just in a single metro city, 10,000 Sikhs were eliminated in 3 days. That is, unfortunately, Rajiv Gandhi legitimized by saying that when the big trees fall, the earth is bound to it. That is the unfortunate part of it. I mean, in a Madhavan in Kerala, we have written a short story. We are talking about the short fiction here. Another leading short story writer for the N.S. Madhavan in Kerala, he has written a short story about the comment of Rajiv Gandhi, one Marangal Vidumbo, when the big trees fall. That is his short story about the Bogan. Another novelist like O.B. Vijay, he has depicted that story of the Sikhs of 1984 in Pravasakanda Vadi and Usha. At least in 2 of his novels, he talks about the massacre at Delhi in 1984, soon after the assassination of Indira Gandhi. And even today the case is on in Supreme Court. Jagdish Thakur and pilot Sajjan Kumar, all these Congress leaders. You may be wondering, Congress leaders are the accused in the anti-Sikh movement because it is said, it was officiated by Rajiv himself. So this kind of, this is another point raised by Ajay. If BJP, the Hindu Nationalist Party, is a white snake in green grass, because it's obvious, Hindu nationalism is their agenda, they proclaim it. Congress is a green snake in green grass because they proclaim secularism and tolerance, but some of them, not all of them, some of them have proven in history, as in 1984, that they can also engineer the Holocaust. 10,006 in 3 days. Only Manmohan came and apologized 22 years after the program. Manmohan Singh was there to apologize for the massacre. Nobody has apologized. Kushal Singh, another great fiction author, he has written short stories also. So Kushal Singh has written in the 20th anniversary, in 2004 or something, he has written about this massacre. And according to his statistics, the calamity is much, much more. The official statistics is 10,000. He says in the adjacent cities also, even in Bangalore, in South India, there were attacks against the Sikhs during the 1984 program, and plenty of people, thousands of people are missing. Don't know what happened to them. They are missing. Sikhs are missing till date. That is a statement by Kushal Singh, one of India's leading writers. He wrote in an article in the Outlook. It's accessible to you on your mobile screens and on the laptops. Outlook article is Kushal Singh talks about the missing people, unidentified people. They are still missing. No mention of, no evidence of their existence. No. The families are forgotten. So this was the kind of genocide that happened in India in the early Middle Ages, and the so-called communal riots and violence is still continuing and fascism today has taken over. They have come to power through the ballot itself, through individualization. So it's an urgent cultural emergency of the academia and the media to address this issue of Hindutva, fascism and violence, which has all its underpinnings and foundations, religious sanctions in the scripture, from Krishna Sutta onwards, and also in the Gita. The holy text of the Hindu, it preaches to do the action. What kind of action? The karma in the Hindu rhetoric is nothing but the caste calling, caste duty. You are a Kshatriya, you must kill. That is the message. That is the teaching given to Arjuna in the Greek. That's caste calling. The Swadharma. Unfortunately, Gandhiji legitimized this Varnashrama Dharma as Swadharma, caste duty, caste calling. Kshatriya, you must kill. You must kill without looking at the face. If it is the brother, you must annihilate. If it is your uncle, Drona, the gurus and the uncle, great-grandfathers were on the other side. But Krishna told him, the Brahma Purusha, the Virat Purusha, told that warrior Arjuna to kill all those great uncles and ancestors and brothers, the gurus, teaching to kill. Can you imagine? Have you ever heard of a religious text in the world that preaches to kill? Then this is to be made the national text according to the HRD ministry and Sushma Swaraj and all. This is going to be the national text of India. A holy text that teaches to kill. And the scripture talks about only the so-called Varna, the caste Hindus. No mention of the Avarna and women at all. They are taking birth from men. Is it possible? You know, joke about that Periyar cried. When Periyar was asked how these Avarnas were born, he said they are born from their mother and father, not from the mouth or any other part of the Virat Purusha. Tandaikum Talaikum our not that was a statement given by Periyar your person. He came to Kerala also. He was inspired by Nadu and he came to the Vaikam struggle, made a speech, and the stories are behind that. If I talk about all these things, I may digress. Please excuse me about digressing because you teach when you digress. That is my principle. When you digress, you teach. You teach when you digress, and you digress when you teach. That is my principle. So you have to talk about the outside literature because it is worldly. As Edward says, has taught us literature is nothing but worldly. Loka, samsara, that is the teaching of the Buddha as well. Samsara, it's all about the world. Samsara. It is worldly. There is a worldliness of literature. Sai talks about it in the introduction to culture and imperialism. He talks about the worldliness of literature. There is a world outside literature. Tony Bennett has the book, Outside Literature. Not something, it is not created in a social vacuum. It has its society, history and culture and politics to fall back. So it is a product of the human, not a product of vacuum. Literature and culture are part of politics and our inevitable struggle to survive the onslaught of fascism and what you call the totalitarianism and such. So when you digress, you are teaching. So this is the context in which you find this violent repressions and all. So those were dalit responses to this. Today dalits were created from the central literature, the South Indian cultural legacy, as I told you. That is my first point. And the second point is that there were a series of struggles and resistances against this from the early Middle Ages onwards. The moment, as Foucault would say, the moment there is power and repression, the resistance is also there. So So that kind of resistance was there. Today we talk about Chennai and Akaya of the early Malayalam tradition in Kannada, Chokkamela, Namdev and Tukaram in Marathi, and also in Tamil also. Tamil, of course, it's an undefeated kind of a territory. You resist the Hindu hegemony, the Hindutva discourse, cultural nationalism and linguistic nationalism. But I have a criticism that some of the responses are so violent and fierce, and you may also fall into the pitfalls of cultural and linguistic nationalism. When you project your linguistic identity in an exaggerated fashion, we may also fall into that problem in Kerala also. Thereafter, the classical language status compared to Tamil, Malayalam was only born in the Middle East. Tamil has a continuous history of 2,600 years or more, but Malayalam was born only in the 12th or 14th century. Even in the 14th century, when the Rama was introduced as a god, in Ramakatha Part 2 it was written in a variety of Tamil called Malayalam Tamil. The Tamil spoken in the Malayala region, the Western Ghats slopes. Until then it was all Padan Tamil, the same thing. Charanjakotul brought the Silapadigaram there in Madalakam, near Vanchi in Kodungal. So, the problem is still we are going for classical language status and all. So, this problem of highly idealizing and romanticizing your own language beyond historical proportion, that is there. The problem is linguistic nationalism. Linguistic and cultural nationalism can give birth to fascism. This is another name of fascism proper. Cultural nationalism means fascism. So that danger is there if you that much idealize your own language and you stick on to that tradition only. So you know about other languages also. 20% words even today are from Bali in Malayalam. They don't talk about it. They talk about the 60% Sanskritized thing. So we have to know about the other things, the world. That is the importance of English again. English has imbibed all these things, of course through colonialism, but that colonialism was a brief spell. It was a break for the subaltern. That is why even the elite scholars in India, post-colonial scholars, the leading ones, they acknowledge it. They acknowledge it as an enabling tool. It's a medicine and a poison at the same time. She talks about the medicine and a poison at the same time, an enabling, liberating kind of a wound. It was only for 200 years. That is how Phule emerged. Phule got that education from the missionaries. Ambedkar emerged because his father and grandfather were exposed to English. That is why he emerged. And Nadu, though he didn't know English language, he has acknowledged the contribution of the British. He said, it is the British who gave us sannyasam, the right to knowledge and education. Because if it was at the time of Rama, I would have met with the fate of Shambhuga. That is the statement made by Nadu. What happened to Shambhuga, you know. Shambhuga was a Shudra. But he learned methods and he tried to become a sage. He learned it, he taught the Shudra children, and he tried to become a sage, so he was beheaded, brutally beheaded by the Lord himself. Rama himself went there and pursued him, chased him, and brought him to the book and beheaded him there himself. So the killer becomes God in the dominant religion. That is another thing that we have to mark. They all have 10 or 20 hands, and in all these 20 hands they carry weapons of mass destruction. That is the thing. If you critically look at it, you will find. But it is all taught as religion, you shouldn't question. And even if the Holy Text teaches you to kill, it talks about Swadharma or Nashama Dharma. You don't question it. It is accepted as dogma. So critical consciousness is required. You have to be critical of your own religion, whatever religion you are. All religions in the humanitarian ground, they talk about peace and salvation and tolerance and all, but there are elements in the dominant religion which can become fascist, which can become brutal, which teaches you to even hesitate to kill your brother. So that is to be very critically understood. So only when you have critical consciousness, you will get the importance of the dalit discourse or the dalit Bahujan and minor discourses of resistance that is emerging in South India or India as a whole. So that is the place in which Ayyappan, Chaudhry Ayyappan of Kerala has shown us the model. He was very silent, he was never an activist, he wrote only short stories. But in the short stories, very short compositions, he talked about the traumatic experience of Dalits in Kerala. Even under the constitutional structures, we don't have material violence in Kerala. In Tamil Nadu, in several places, there are violent kind of material confrontations, but we don't have it. But we have very disguised and very covetous and suppressed kind of caste hatred and envy and suppressions and persecutions and silent kind of invisible walls. The walls are not, the apartheid is not visible, there is an apartheid that is invisible. So he was trying to illuminate these invisible walls in Kerala. How in educational institutions parent children are discriminated, looking into their cards or stipend cards when they go for stipend, how these things are done very subtly, and how they are ridiculed by the caste Hindu teachers and other fellow students. All these things are very subtly, very comically and ironically in a typical fashion also. That is the importance of Ayyappan. It is highly ironic. His short stories are highly polyphonic, ironic and polyphonic. You can have several readings of the text. He talks about several experiences, several subjects in Kerala. You can have very different kind of interpretations. It is open for interpretation. That is the openness of this text. And then he, of course, like Toni Morrison and all of the African American tradition, he talks about history. He also brings in a very gentle and allegorical fashion, not directly, in a very allegorical fashion, he brings in history, the history of slavery in Kerala. In an interview with Dilip Raj, he talks about his own mother, who was a slave. He lived in mid-20th century, so his mother was early 20th century. So his mother was bought and sold for a few rupees or a few handful of paddy, the rice that we eat. For a few measure of paddy, his mother was sold from one neighborhood, from one household of the master sovereigns to other households. So that kind of experience, he talks about his grandmother talking to him and singing to him in a unique folk law, the folk Rachel, the Rachel tradition of the players, the player Rachel oral literature tradition that was there in his grandmother, late 19th and early 20th, but that is completely lost. He remembers the interviews, he has revealed that my grandmother used to sing me about all these traumatic experiences, like the songs and spirituals of Ayyappan, a great legendary leader of the Dalits of the early 20th century. He was part of the Kerala Renaissance, like Ayyappan. Ayyappan was king from the Malayalam tradition in South Kerala. You know about Nadu and Ayyappan movement. The transformed the South Kerala created the Renaissance discourse around when the missionary intervention was there, the Bhakta mission and the LMS and the CMS missionaries, they were in the Nadu, in southern Kerala, in South Travancore, in the Tirunelveli region and all, it is a mixed, again, it's a shared legacy of South India, the missionary intervention. And just after the missionary intervention, you have a person like Ayyappan emerging, Vaikunta Swami. So, இந்த உலகத்தில் ஒரே ஒரு கடவுள், ஒரே ஒரு ஜாதி, ஒரே ஒரு மதம். That is motto of Ayyappan. And this has been re-rendered into Malayalam. This was introduced to Malayalam by Gandhi. ஒரு ஜாதி, ஒரு மதம், ஒரு தேசம். And without disciple, Sekher Ayyappan was following the diamond and marriage and all. He again reinterpreted as no caste. Nadu and Ayyappan, they said one caste, one God, one religion for the future. And Sekher reinterpreted it as no caste, no caste, no caste, no religion, no God, but ethics. He was a Buddhist. He was culturally and intellectually a Buddhist. So he emphasized the Dharma, the moral principles which are required for the well-being, the greater welfare of the people. Bahujana Sukhaya, Bahujana Hidaya. This is the philosophy of the Buddha. Buddha has minimally expressed his philosophy as nothing related to gods and arbitraries, nothing about gods and demons and goddesses, but about the human, the suffering of the I do not know about the mystery of the gods, but the mystery of the human. That was the statement. So, Bahujana Hidaya, Bahujana Sukhaya is the philosophy of the Buddha, which you find an echo in the Kerala versions in Sekher Ayyappan, disciple, a rationalist and neo-Buddhist disciple of Nadu. Somebody like Ayyappan, if you compare it with Tamilagam, the earliest pioneer of the neo-Dalit movement, even before Ambedkar talked about Navayana. Navayana was in the 1950s. He converted in 1956. Unfortunately, he passed away this age. But Ayyappan was in the 1890s. He went to Ceylon and got his Diksha from a Theravada monk there. He worked with the Theosophical Society, Kerala, Olcott and all. They helped him to go to various parts of Burma, Thailand and Ceylon. He studied Buddhism, Theravada Buddhism, and he got the Diksha from a Ceylonese Mahavira monk. And he came back and he established 1904. He established the Shakya Muni Society, the Shakya Buddhist Society in the Nilgiris in Tamil Nadu. He was from that Coimbatore, that region. His grandfather was a great Siddha, a medical practitioner. He himself was a practitioner, and also they were with the Europeans, the British. Grandfather was a medical man and also a butler and clerical assistant of that British. So they got their English legacy, and also through their what you call the Chitta tradition. Chitta tradition or the Siddha medical tradition, they were connected to the early Shaivite and Buddhist Vajrayana or particular Tantric Buddhist tradition. He got all those manuscripts from his ancestors, Ayyappan. And like Ayyappan, Sekher Ayyappan was also a pioneer of neo-Buddhism in Kerala, along with Vedavadi Krishnan, another disciple of Nadu. So they had it in the 1920s and 30s. 1920s and 30s, soon after Ayyappan in Tamil Nadu, who wrote the Indira Teresa Sarithram, about that book. Adi Vedam, he founded the Puruša Sukta and Rigveda, and he wrote another Veda from the chapel that is called the Ancient Dravidians in the Dravida movement also has its origin in Ayyappan, not in Periyur. Now Periyur projected beyond proportion as the originator and the beyond and end all of the Dravidian movement. No, that is absolutely wrong. It was Ayyappan who created the Dravida Mahajana Sabha in the 1870s and 1880s and 1890s. He asked all the Dalits to enlist when the colonialists they started the census of India. When Britishers came to the census, he spoke to all his Dalit brethren to enlist as casteless Dravidians. Casteless Dravidian identity. So the politics of Dravidian, the Gita, the Vedadaguri, and our own genealogists, they have written books on it. So it is the originator of the Dravidian discourse in South India. And in the world is Ayyappan Pandita. Our Tamil journals. Dravida Pandiyan, another journal. Dravida Pandiyan and Oripaita Tamil. These are the journals. And the books like Indira Saritra means the Buddha. Indira here means the concept of Indira is not the Vedic Indra, but Buddha as the conqueror of Indriya, who has conquered all the five senses, who has become a renouncer. The great renouncer is called Indira. Like Christ, who has ascended the cross with others, that kind of who has abandoned his kingdom and throne. Gautama was a prince, but he abandoned his throne and kingdom and every, what you call the pompous luxuries of the royal life for the sake of finding the answers, the greater questions of the samsara, the worldliness, to find solutions to the worldliness, the misery of human beings, he abandoned all. So he is the real Indira, one who has conquered all the Indriyas, the test of Mara. In the Buddhist tradition, it's called the test of the Mara. And Mara was testing him. He touched the earth and said, "Who will believe you?" Gautama asked Mara. That is claim that you have become the conqueror of all senses and Mara. And Buddha answered, "The earth is my witness." And he touched the earth. That is the great Bhumi Sparsha Mudra of the Buddha. Even in Kerala, you have idols thought from the Middle Ages in which the Buddha assumed that pose of Bhumi Sparsha. The earth is my witness. So that kind of compassion, that is the kind of level of enlightenment that you find in the Amara tradition. So, in Samadha Ayyappan and also in Ayyappan, you have this resistance, defiant resistance against caste and Brahmanism, and it was Ayyappan, like Yogitasam, who wrote the Indian Sarithram, the Buddhist history of India. Ayyappan had reminded his Dalit brethren about the history of slavery in India, in Kerala in particular. What kind of slavery was there? Slave markets, children and women were bought and sold like cattle. He talks about it in his songs and spiritual. So he used the oral literature, the orature of the Dalit tradition to educate and liberate the people. That is the greatest contribution of Ayyappan. And in that trajectory, you will find Ayyappan's legacy is that of the Dalit struggles and the resistance voicing the politics of speech and articulation that is grounded by Ayyappan. You will find in a very sort of and subtle way in the genre of the short story in Ayyappan. So he talks about slavery. He talks about the Middle Ages when the people were brutally suppressed in the agricultural feudalist setup, how feudalism exploited the Dalits, like Ayyappan elaborated it. And he also talks about the new emerging politics, the democratic politics of the excluded in Kerala. That is another important thing. He talks about ambassadorism. That is also a very important contribution of Sekher in several stories, as in a story called The Memorial Smarakam. I have translated it and put it on the internet. You can find it, Smarakam, or The Memorial. It's a story in which he allegorically talks about the sun. He doesn't talk about Ambedkar as such, but he brings in all the allegories and the images and the motifs and talks about the future of this emerging discourse, the dalit discourse in India. He imagines or symbolizes the vector of the sun, the emerging sun, as we have Bhaskaran or the sun or the Ravi. It has been an image of the Buddha, and now it has become in Marathi and Hindi Dalit poetry. You will find the image of the sun, so lavishly employed by the poets. So it represents the neo Buddha now. Ajay imagined in Kerala the sun as Abhinava Kripamiti, Akhila Bandhavan Shakti Dinamati. The sun is connected to Shakti Sinha or Buddha. But in the Marathi poetry and in Ayyappan's fiction, especially in some stories like Smarakam, the memorial, you find sun emerging as the image of a maker, the neo-Buddha of it. So he has so the image of the sun is very key to Ayyappan's short stories, and he is representing the image as a greater, what you call, symbol and motif of the neo-Buddhist tradition, the neo-democratic tradition, the constitutional, secular democratic tradition that Ambedkar stands for. So, in general, we can say that the enlightenment of India, the Indian enlightenment tradition, is rightly brought into the critical genre of short story and short fiction in Malayalam by this great writer, Ayyappan, and his short stories are really open and ironic and polyphonic text, which you can read and reread and re-territorialize and deterritorialize, and his stories, short fiction, also deterritorialize the region in Kerala where you have the Hindu consensus. The Hindu Protestant is being deconstructed, re-territorialized and deterritorialized by this great visionary writer, and he represents that Dalit resistance tradition in Kerala, which has its major voice in Ayyappan. So I am very thankful to, I could only introduce the topic to you. I hope in future we may get more translations from Ayyappan and other short fiction authors, Dalit short fiction authors from Kerala and Tamil Nadu also. And my students are also working on Gama and Shivkami short fiction and all. So in future I think we may have some comparative and cultural interactions and dialogues between the vernacular traditions within South India, with which we can come up with greater socially and democratically useful things. And I am thankful to Bhaskaran for this opportunity, and also to Professor Dorega, who was patient enough to be here, and all the distinguished Professor Andrew and other teachers, scholars and students for this. Thank you very much. It's a great opportunity to be here.